So I just got back from Transformers Rise of the Beasts, and I have thoughts. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Hobbies with Jose. Now I did actually just get back from watching Rise of the Beasts, and this is really going to be just my raw thoughts and emotions about the movie. Now if you're worried about spoilers, don't be. I will split this up into a non-spoiler and a spoiler section, so get ready for that. But before we get into any of that, I do think it's a good idea for me to tell you just a little bit about how I got into the franchise, what parts of Transformers I do like. As I've said before, Transformers does mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people, and you have to respect that. Most of it anyway. So, here's the Transformers stuff I like. Now, obviously, I'm a child of the 80s, so my association of Transformers starts in G1. Even though I now think the original cartoon show is borderline unwatchable, it's the thing that started it all. From a lot of the iconic characterizations to just the basis for the overall lore. So you kind of have to respect it for that. But as a kid, that was like catnip for me. And after that, we have, of course, Beast Wars. Now, here's where things get a little bit funny for me. As a kid, I did recognize that it had some state-of-the-art animation, and that it was better written, too. But the one thing I couldn't really get past, or just get into my head, was a Transformer turning into an organic animal? Or were they still metallic with fur? I didn't get it. And so because of that, I didn't really get all that into it. And you don't have to explain it in the comics, I don't really care anymore. But I do remember getting into the show, just not really into the toys. And then after that was really a whole bunch of nothing. I thought I had really outgrown Transformers at that point, and I didn't really watch any of the shows from Japan. Zero interest there, until we get to animated. Now I'll admit I was one of those who thought it looked really weird in the beginning. The designs at this point just looked a little bit too cartoony for me. But I gave it a shot, and lo and behold, it was pretty damn good. Targeted for kids, but enjoyable by adults. Some really fun storylines, and just oozing with a bunch of callbacks to G1 and even Beast Wars. I enjoyed animated a ton. And then as far as shows go after that, that's pretty much it. I did see the Netflix one. Kind of wish I had it. And Earthspark seemed okay, but I didn't really get into it. So that's it for the shows. Now, as far as the movies, obviously the original G1 movie just kicks all kinds of ass. Lots of iconic moments and lines just come from that movie, but some parts also drag and are hard to watch. But I would still rewatch it to this day. Which brings us to Bayverse, and I do remember the anticipation building for that first movie. We were just hungry for any little detail that we could find, any little design tidbit. I still remember to this day a set photo leaking of Bumblebee, and there was already some worry starting about the design, but the producers were saying, don't worry, a lot of it's going to be heightened by CGI. And then we see what Optimus Prime looks like, and I thought it looked pretty good. But then we saw Starscream, and I'm like, what the hell's going on here? But that first movie, I did quite enjoy it. Optimus Prime transforming in that first movie for 15 minutes just really gave you goosebumps. But yeah, the movie had a lot of problems. And I remember watching the sequel and then not liking it as I was watching it. I think at that time there was a writer's strike. Not that having actual writers probably would have helped the movie at that point. And the third one I kind of remember watching, but everything else after that is just kind of a fuzzy dream. I really stopped caring for the live action Transformers movies at that point. But then the Bumblebee movie dropped, and we all thought, woo, they finally got Starscream right! Wait, what do you mean that's Blitzwing? But those first few minutes on Cybertron were just orgasmically perfect. You could tell who was who, and the fighting and battles weren't a dizzying mess. And the actual movie itself was just really good. Simple story, a girl in a car, and two Decepticons trying to kill him. It was funny and emotional, and just having fewer characters altogether allowed us to have more character. And where that movie ended up made me really hopeful for what a sequel could be. Finally, with some updated G1 designs and taking place in the 80s, we could have a Transformers movie very much like the original G1 cartoon. And I couldn't wait for it. What do you mean you're bringing Beast Wars? So, Rise of the Beasts, spoiler-free edition. Right away, we're going in a direction that I wasn't really expecting or even wanting after just getting these beautifully updated designs. Not only are the Beasts crashing the party, but some of those awesomely updated G1 designs have unfortunately changed. Now, while I may have grown to not really like the new look of Wheeljack or really care for the Maximals all that much, I decided to give this movie a chance and really just try to judge it on its own merits. And I have to say, I really enjoyed it. Not only was this movie coherent, it had a different vibe from any of the previous Transformers movies. I could tell what was going on in the action scenes, and above all, it was funny. Now you might think that this being a sequel to Bumblebee, that he's a standout character in this movie, My boy Mirage has won me over. And the pesky human characters weren't annoying. They were fun to watch and interact with the bots on the big screen. Now, of course, this movie is not perfect by any means. It has some of the most cliche-ish of cliche things that these genre movies tend to have, but they don't ruin the movie at all though. I had a great time from beginning to end, and that, I think, is more than I could have hoped for, okay? I think it's important to note that even though there's quite a few new characters, a lot of them do get their time to shine, but not all of them. There's one, maybe two, that are almost regulated to background characters, and that was almost to be expected. But even though they don't get a lot of time to shine on the screen, they still get a couple of key cool moments. And again, I think that's more than we can ask for. But a surprisingly good amount of Optimus Primal and one other Maximal, enough for me to, you know, kind of care about them. I thought their designs were translated very well for the big screen, and I'm very grateful that they didn't just transform into regular looking animals. That would look weird, right? But the designs were top notch. Now Optimus Prime, however, I don't know, something was still a little bit off about him. It's obviously not the exact same design as how we saw him in the Bumblebee movie. There's enough changes that were made to be noticeable, and also just his overall proportions were just a little bit different. I definitely prefer the Bumblebee movie version though. And can we all just agree that he should keep his mouth plate on at all times? Because whatever he had going on underneath was a little bit off-putting, and saying that it's based off of Peter Cullen is kind of insulting, I'm not gonna lie. Which leads me to noticing a bit of a change in Optimus's voice. Sounded like it had a little bit more texture to it. I don't know, we really have to protect Peter Cullen no matter the cost. And I will still say that this updated look for RC was pretty damn good. Just a little bit unfortunate how she's a little bit tinier now, but that's of course due to her alt mode, which is fine, it's okay. Updated Bumblebee looks pretty good, but I'll take the Volkswagen version any day. And Mirage really did grow on me, but that's really in large part thanks to Pete Davidson. He stole the movie, and I really couldn't get enough of his character. I really did love it. I won't talk about Wheeljack. And that Stratosphere character, while he had a pretty interesting design, he just kind of came out of nowhere and then just kind of left into nowhere. I don't know. And the Terrorcons, great designs, menacing designs. Even when the pesky humans see them for the first time, they know they mean trouble. Those battle sequences were very fun to watch. And the story, while much more epic and grandeur in scale than Bumblebee, it made sense, for the most part. Now comparing this to Bumblebee, they are both very different movies. One is kind of an offshoot and the other is an actual full-blown Transformers movie. Different budgets, different goals. But at the end of the day, I do think I enjoyed Bumblebee just a little bit more. But Rise of the Beasts, I would watch it again, and I do recommend it. Now, let's talk spoilers. First thing that comes to mind, that scene at the end of the movie where that main protagonist kid is in the full armor suit and hanging onto Prime's axe, and Prime tells him, "You must let me go. Save yourself," or something like that. I'm thinking, Prime, you could have just let go of the axe, you know, if you really wanted to sacrifice yourself. I don't know, it looked kind of weird. Speaking of that main kid in the mech suit, as it was forming and building around him, I couldn't help but think of, no, not Iron Man, Exo Manowar. It looked just like the Exo Manowar suit. Like, I totally think there should be a lawsuit in there somewhere, because that was like ripped off from that. But it looked pretty cool if it wasn't a little bit cheesy. I think it's a pretty neat little callback to the original animated movie, if anything. Although they weren't wearing dead Transformers as bodysuits, they just had specific suits made for them, right? It looked kind of cool. One thing I couldn't stop thinking about was the old Fantastic Four movie, Rise of the Silver Surfer. Yeah, I know, we've been rising since 2005. That movie had Galactus in it, but we all remember how they epically screwed that up by, instead of showing actual Galactus, he's some kind of a space smoke monster. Such a ruined opportunity. Now, thankfully in Rise of the Beasts, it's not as bad. This movie kicks right off with Unicron. And don't think I didn't notice his music from the original animated movie, because that was definitely there. But seeing Unicron in a live action movie eat up a planet, I mean, I know I say that, live action, it's all CGI, but still, you know what I mean. It was fucking awesome, right? And yet, we never see him transformed. Like, what the hell, man? Are we really going to bring back Unicron in a future Transformers movie? This kind of seems like a one-shot and you're done type of a deal, you know? So I really wish we would have seen that. Maybe it wasn't in the budget. I don't know. Still sucks though. And falling back to the big blue light shooting up into the sky is just so tired at this point. I mean, it happened multiple times in this movie. There's really no excuse for that. But other than that, I still enjoyed the movie quite a bit. And it does kind of make me hopeful for future live-action Transformers movies at this point. They are never going to be, I think, exactly what I would want one to be. But again, They mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And at the very least, I think they're an improvement over what we've gotten in the past. We can fully expect the future movies to slap names like Wheeljack onto any old design. If he was named something else, I would probably feel better about him. But that's okay. I'll always have Bumblebee Movie Wheeljack, and I'm grateful for that. Hey, you know what? Thank you all so much for watching. Right now it's almost midnight, and I'm about to crash.
I'm not sure I understand.
I said I'm about to crash, but I will let you go with this. Leave me a comment. I want to know what you thought about this movie. I really do. And if you really want to discuss it with me, feel free to follow me on social media or even join the Discord. It's awesome there. So catch the movie, grab a nice t-shirt, and come on, bring it in.